Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Excited to do this video. Why? Well, it's about 5 a.m. I woke up because my back was in major pain. And I figured, well, I might as well get up and do a video for you guys. And guess what? Today we get to hang out with Sam Sulic. He's going to be doing a video called Q&A, Dieting Tips to Mentality. I'm excited for this. Now, a lot of people might not be, because many people believe that Sam has nothing to really offer when it comes to training.
First, after watching days worth of Sam Sulek videos, the first thing I noticed is that his technique could be better. Sam is obviously a big proponent of what he calls ego lifting, which is when you simply try to move the weight, allowing yourself to swing and sway rather than being really strict with your form. And Sam definitely does more than his fair share of cheat reps.
And I would say I disagree with that to a degree. I do think his mentality and knowledge might not be where many bodybuilders' mentalities and knowledges might be, because I think he focuses more on like the quote-unquote bro stuff.
Set of curls, repeat. So the first combination, and this is a little bit of a choice I have to make specifically because I'm dieting, because I mean I feel like I could load up a ton of weight on a push down, but even doing the stack right now with relatively cold triceps and elbows, I can just kind of feel it, you know? So actually I'm gonna go a little bit lighter than I thought I was gonna go and start with a squeezing set of push down. So the hard part isn't moving the weight. The hard part is getting to the bottom, really trying to pull my arms kind of obviously down, but also back and out, kind of in this rotating motion is what I imagine. Because for me, that lets me get a ton of long head, right? Your tricep has two basic parts of this sort of horseshoe shape. The sort of smaller one up here, and then the bigger long one down here, right? If you're doing like a close grip bench, you're gonna feel more of that long head. And that's what gives your tricep its size. Obviously this adds to its, adds to the mystique in terms of having extra detail. But the real brunt of it, like if somebody hits a crazy pose and their arm is hanging off, that's because they got a big long head.
But at the same time, something that we should not discount when it comes to Sam is the fact that he seems to have humility, which means to a degree he might be teachable. And we've seen him change his viewpoint over time. He in fact tells us in many videos, be aware that my viewpoint changes, which is cool, and I appreciate that, and it shows that he's willing to learn. But something else that Sam has to offer is experience. It's not like he's sitting at home reading books about training. He's going out and actually doing it. So just because of the raw nature of experience, we're going to be able to gain a lot from him. So without further ado, sit back, relax, no matter where you guys are, no matter what you guys are doing. This Sam video is about 45 minutes, which means, in theory, based on my previous track record, you guys are going to get about a 2-hour video today, maybe an hour and a half. Let's see how that goes. I know you guys love those longer videos. Let's get into it.
All right, there we go. So currently for today, and actually this is being posted on the day that it's being recorded. So if you're floating around Poughkeepsie, New York, well, guess what? Fast forward to 4 o'clock. Well, for one, not only are we going to see finals of the Grand Prix bodybuilding show, but they're kind of they've got a whole booth set up, expo. Maybe let's just say miniature expo, just to be clear. But no, so that's the plan for today. Go check it out, see how everybody's doing.
Poughkeepsie, New York. Oh man, just knowing that Sam is over in New York right now makes me happy. It's kind of stupid, but you guys might know if you watch the channel, I'm from New York City, but I actually live currently in Mexico, and I do get homesick, especially for my family. New York has a lot of beautiful things to offer. New York itself. Many people, when they think of New York, they think of New York City as being the Mecca. Like New York City is the only New York that exists. But really, outside of the confines of New York City, even my brain, outside of the confines of New York City, you have a beautiful, gigantic state and it just has so much to offer. And let me tell you, me and my wife, we've traveled a lot. The food, absolutely phenomenal in New York. It's some of, in our opinion, some of the best food ever.
Hey, so very hot, very hot.
Especially when you're talking about in the United States, because we haven't traveled too much outside of the United States, Mexico, and a couple of other places, things of that nature. But man, you guys let me know. What do you guys think of New York? Have you ever been there? And if so, what do you think about the food? What is your favorite food?
You know, kind of felt like an asshole because they're all coming in peeled to the bone, and I'm sitting there eating a New York slice with like a chicken cutlet sandwich. Maybe I should have saved that for the private room.
I want to say I love the fact that Sam is over here making a video while he's traveling. It shows you how much he cares, even if the scene that he's in looks a little bit weird, a little bit funny. One of the comments on the video actually said, "Why does my guy look like he's posted up like a hitman in a hotel?" Oh man, that's the truth. That's the truth. Something that I wanted to touch on is the fact that Sam mentions that he's over here walking into a show and all the guys around him are peeled to the bone, meaning ripped, because they're all dieted down for the show. And Sam is over here walking in probably about 15 or 20% body fat, maybe even a little bit more, eating a slice of pizza. Speaking of food, right? Exactly what I miss is pizza from New York City, but or New York in general. But yeah, so he's saying that, you know, he felt kind of like a schmuck doing that. And you know, I just wanted to point out the fact that I appreciate that Sam is not one of those types of people that tries to stay completely shredded year round. He's a huge proponent of bulking. Now, in the past, his bulks were quite aggressive, and I never thought they had to be. But I do believe he's changing his mentality over time to less of an aggressive type of a bulk. And the reason being is when he went to go diet down for his IFBB Pro card, Sam realized just how much it took in order to get that body fat level down. Now, he surprised, I think, everybody. He did it. He got his body fat down. He won the show overall. And it was absolutely incredible and inspiring that his dedication, and he did it without a coach, to my knowledge. He did it by himself. Absolutely phenomenal, incredible stuff. But again, I appreciate that he doesn't keep his body fat so high to the point where he can't, you know, build and function. He, I believe these days, is keeping it to a normal body fat percentage, not going too high, not looking for an excuse to bulk to eternity and gain a ton of weight, but just be bulking to the point where he can build and feel comfortable in his own skin and to function in everyday life.
So let's see. What are some tips to bulk as a teen who is mid-teen, so I guess he's probably saying 15. I don't think you'd say mid-teen if you were 16. Hasn't hit termixiate numbers. Unsure of that word. But his upper body weight. 190 at 6 foot. Well, you know what? You're already killing it with the 6 foot. So I wouldn't even stress about it.
Something that I love is one in the comment that Sam just read. He read something about termixiate numbers. Haven't hit termixiate numbers. I have no clue what that word means. I have no idea. You guys let me know in the comments if you know what that word means. But I love how Sam is like, I am not editing this. I am not editing this video. I am keeping it running full through. I am not Googling that thing.
Unsure of that word.
Forget it. It's not happening. I love that. So I just love it. And I also love the fact that he didn't do it, not just because he doesn't want to edit and he wants to keep it raw and things of that nature, But I also love it because he's not pretending to know things that he doesn't know. He's not quietly Googling it, pausing the video, checking it out, things of that nature. I'm sure he probably looked up that question in advance of doing this, and he could have looked it up in advance. But at the end of the day, I don't know what that word means, but I can almost guarantee that the person asking is a newbie, number one, because they're asking how important bulking is. They have a bulking question. Typically, people who kind of got the feel of what's going on don't need to ask a question like that. And number two, termixiate numbers. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not important. And this person's probably reading a whole bunch of stuff and watching a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't matter. And that's another thing that I love about Sam's content. Not that science-based or knowledge is not important. I'm not saying that. But I love how he's doing it. When he started, he was doing it. Similar to myself. When I started training, I didn't have the internet to be looking up all this scientific data and information, stuff like that. Maybe I had the internet, but I didn't, the internet wasn't as, readily available and stockpiled full of good information at the end of the day. So when you get out and do, that is so important because you learn. And you'll learn very quickly that termixiate numbers, whatever the heck that word means, it ain't important.
190 at 6 foot. Well, you know what? You're already killing it with the 6 foot. So I wouldn't even stress about it. So how I look at it, at least as a beginner, you actually don't need the wildest dieting intervention yet, because you're at your most primed state for essentially, calorie use, energy consumption, to translate all of that into gains. Where, if you take somebody who's never worked out before, and the only thing you changed was you actually had them come into the gym, lift hard. I don't even care what the lift was. Like, I don't care if you're doing push-pull legs. I don't care if you're doing anything. Let's say you're hitting body parts twice a week-ish, and every workout you actually bring it. Like, the guy's sweating. He's really going for it. Well, guess what? He's going to grow, And if he was a little bit on the softer side in the beginning, just the addition of that, actual physical exertion across those workouts is going to make him get leaner over time anyway, So if you're already above the line of body fat that you want to be, which I'm assuming is kind of described here, and you're starting to work out, you want to get bigger, well, just by working out, you will get bigger.
Love what Sam mentions here. He mentions that just by the nature of this person who asked this question, being the age they are, the height they are, and the weight they are, they probably don't have to worry about bulking too much. They're probably overweight a bit already, or maybe at a perfectly healthy body fat. And just by the nature of training, because of their age and where their body fat level is, they're going to be able to grow very quickly. Younger people, in general, if I'm so grateful that the internet exists to a degree.
The Queen went to go visit her sister today, who she hasn't spoken with in a while, and I think it's a beautiful thing. So of course I sent my support and my love, and I'm gonna have testicle ceviche on Seafood Wednesday, solo today, as I think about the great beauty and love there is in family.
I never touched this stuff. But that all changed last summer after working out again with my old college football teammates, Scott and Andrew. They both went on to have successful careers in the NFL. And after they both crushed me in our workout, I said, "Are you guys taking something? Like steroids?" Their response, "Nah, man, it's just nicotine. Try a pouch before your next workout. It hits different." So on our workout the next day, I tried it with them. And damn, they were right.
These days, because young people, they have such an advantage, where older people, like myself, I'm old now, right? 38 years old, we didn't have as much information. You can literally follow pro bodybuilders and their journeys and their everydays, and you watch their vlogs, and you can eat and you can sleep bodybuilding and training. You can do it now. You can live in the shoes of a pro bodybuilder and do every single thing that they do. Maybe not everything. Maybe certain things you shouldn't do. But as far as knowledge and wisdom, sure, there's a lot of bad knowledge and wisdom out there, information, bad information, but hey, there's also a lot of good stuff. So the information that Sam is giving is excellent. Yeah. I would say when you're a kid, you shouldn't be going too crazy. I mean, I'm coming from a place of having been 300 pounds when I was a kid. So I was, 200 pounds at like 15 years old. So I was in like a perma bulk, you know what I mean? And I used to train. Now, I didn't know the exact proper way to train. I just went in and did it and learned over time different things, right? You just learn over time. But something that Sam mentions too is if you're training decently, you will actually lose weight over time. He mentions over time, which I appreciate because it ain't going to happen overnight. Bodybuilding is not something that's going to necessarily have you just shred up while you eat whatever you want. If that was the case, bulks wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? But he'll lose weight over time. So if he is a bit on the heavy side and wants to lean out, that bodybuilding might put him in enough of a caloric deficit to be able to slowly lose weight. Maybe do a recomp where your weight stays the same and your body fat goes down, but the muscle slowly goes up. Something along those lines. But as far as what Sam's giving, the information, I think it's fantastic because I understand the nature of it, but I don't love that kids, younger people, feel like they need to bulk and cut because I used to starve myself to try to lose weight because I didn't understand the principles behind losing weight. Nobody around me knew how to get my weight under control because nobody had good information. So I was on my own when it came to losing weight, gaining weight, building muscle, things like that. So love Sam's information here. It's accurate information and it comes from him living it. It comes from him living it. So I really appreciate that knowledge and that wisdom.
And so let's say for me, I was a 160 pound. I think I got a little taller from 16 to 18, maybe. So let's say I was like a 5'9", 160 pounder, maybe 165 as a start. That was pretty lean, right? So I already started off like relatively lean. I didn't have to think, okay, am I going to put on too much body fat if I start to grow? As a beginner, I only had two concerns. Train like a beast and hit my protein. Now, I definitely could have eaten more carbs and facilitating more growth. But honestly, as long as I had my 250 grams, my 300 grams, whatever I was eating at the time, and I brought it during that workout, well, then I was good, So really, year one, obviously look into it. I'm not saying don't start if you start tracking your macros early on, well, guess what? You're good. But to try to, potentially limit any gains by starting off in a really steep deficit to, get leaner, you're kind of skipping a step. So this is a good statement from this guy because he's saying, or not from this guy, but from Frosh 2466, because I assume you're starting to work out. You want to get bigger, just start lifting. Eat your protein. So if you're 190, I'd say eat at least 180 grams of protein. You can probably get away with 150.
Love the information here. Don't worry too much about the weight. Just start lifting. A lot of people are paralyzed. They want the perfect starting point. They want to know all this information. They want to get everything perfect. And that's not something that's going to necessarily help. Like Sam said, learn to track your macros. But really, when you're first starting off, especially, and you're that age, you will grow very quickly. So, absolutely right. Track your protein. Very important to track the protein, or at least just eat a ton of it, right? Because, we're told, like what Sam's recommending, these days, we're told like 2 grams per pound of body weight. I think that's the latest study. Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. In my opinion, even 1 pound is too much, right? But I do think that if you can eat as much as you comfortably can, excellent. If you could track it, excellent. It gets you into the idea of tracking calories, tracking macros, things of that nature. So you have a head start for later on. If you ever want to learn to cut, you know how to track and things of that nature. But just getting in there and doing it is so beneficial. My opinion, avoid the drinking, seriously, because it will mess your gains up. Of course, genetics come into play, and everybody's different, and it also depends on how much you're drinking. But if you're a teen, you shouldn't be drinking anyway. That's number one. But if you're going to do things that you shouldn't do, avoid the smoking, avoid the nicotine in general, whether it's vapes, whether it's Zyn. We just did a video on Zyn the other day. Avoid the nicotine, no matter what form it's in. Avoid the drinking, because that's going to screw up your hormones. It's going to make you lazy the day after. You're going to end up eating a ton extra. It's going to totally, increase your estrogen, stop the protein synthesis from occurring properly if you're binge drinking and things of that nature. Especially like 3 hours after training, don't drink for wait more than 3 hours. I'd say at least 8 hours for your body to do its thing, to start recovering. But try not to do that stuff. Sleep is a big deal, okay? Many bodybuilders have, and people who are just in general, concerned about the way they look and want to do better for themselves as far as bodybuilding and weight loss, they have very boring lives, okay? I'm not telling you to have a boring life, but they have very boring lives for a reason. They're making sacrifices while all their friends are going out and drinking and partying. They're the ones staying home. Or if they go to the party, they're having a lemonade instead of getting tossed. You know what I mean? Pounding vodka and things of that nature. You have to make sacrifices as a bodybuilder. You do. You can't live the lifestyle of a bodybuilder and have the results and go out and just live however you want. That's why bodybuilders cut. That's why bodybuilders typically avoid binge drinking, avoid tons of, different types of substances. So excellent information here. Track your protein, get your sleep, drink enough water and liquid in general. Avoid the drugs like alcohol and other things like that. And you don't really have to worry too much about what you're eating unless you're obese and you want to cut down. You could totally cut. But if you're at a decent body fat percentage, don't even worry about it. You guys are too young to be worrying about getting body dysmorphia. Just look good, feel good, train good, and you're going to be good.
Lift super hard, push-pull legs, upper, lower, whatever, and wait. Really, that's all you can say. Just by doing that, without eating, too much food. Let's say you're eating just maintenance food, your body composition will begin to change. It's not even a question; it's a freaking guarantee. But let's scan through another one here. Ooh, I assume Arthur Zebra. Or no, what I'm saying. Arthur Zebra 5180. Did you get that bike? I was talking about getting a bike. I did not get it because I only would have been able to ride it for a day, and then I get to fly out here for the weekend for this bodybuilding show, so I'll save it for later. But no, so I don't know how interesting that would be. That's a whole subculture of YouTube videos where guys ride motorcycles. They put a GoPro on their helmet and they have a little internal mic where they just have biking dialogue or motorcycle dialogue. I don't know if it'd be as interesting on a regular bike. And also, if I'm biking around, I'm probably huffing and puffing. We'll see. But no, I want to start biking around. It's definitely more fun than just sitting on a seated bike. But I'm actually going to phase this into a question. What's the best form of cardio? Because every time I hype up, go to the gym, sit on the seated bike, do the treadmill, I get a lot of comments where it goes, well, why wouldn't you just walk outside? Why wouldn't you just ride a real bike? Go on a real bike ride. Why do you have to sit on a fake bike and pedal nowhere?
It really is amazing what people put on YouTube. The fact that people do have these motorcycle channels where they're zipping around, they got an internal mic inside their helmet, and they're talking to their viewers. I mean, how cool is that? It's really cool. Something that Sam just mentioned is he doesn't know if he would want to do that on a regular bike because he doesn't know how interesting it'll be. Especially him, he said, because he'll be huffing and puffing. I think it would be very interesting because people watch Sam not just for like the information. They watch Sam because he's Sam. Like I felt good today. I was getting my coffee and I'm like, what video do I want to do for these guys today? You know what? I want to hang out with Sam. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I'm hanging out with him. I feel like I'm hanging out with you guys. I love it. It's fantastic. It's an escape. And so not only are you learning, you get to chill with this guy. So I think people would love it. I don't think people would mind him huffing and puffing. I think people just love his voice. People fall asleep to this guy's videos, you know what I mean? So I think he can get away with a lot. Now, another thing that I really appreciated that he brought out was the fact that many people will say to him, why don't you just go for a walk? Why don't you just go outside in nature or go on a real bike rather than go on a stationary bike? I am a huge proponent of walking. I literally walked myself, and of course I had a calorie deficit, but I walked myself down from 300 pounds down to 145 pounds. I never did any other form of cardio. It was walking or stepper, which is essentially walking, right? But I loved it because it allowed me to maintain the amount of muscle I had because it was low intensity cardio. It allowed me to keep more energy because when you're doing high intensity cardio and you're bodybuilding every day, that's very, very difficult, especially if you're a natural person. So in order to maintain energy levels, maintain sanity, I would just walk. Sometimes I would get 30 or 40, 50,000 steps a day. I was burning thousands of calories a day, literally. But the problem is it took me all day. It took me all friggin' day. And I didn't mind because I loved being outside. I would walk with my wife. I would look for excuses to walk. When you want to lose weight, make a lifestyle change and make part of that lifestyle change be becoming more of an active person in general. In general. Don't drive to the store, walk to the store, bring a backpack to put your food in when you go shopping. If you can, right? That's the idea. Park further away from the store so you can walk to the store and get more steps in. Have a step tracker on your wrist at all times. It makes you motivated. It gives you an idea of where you're at. It doesn't matter if the steps are accurate because they'll always be inaccurate according to itself. So if one day the watch says you got 10,000 steps, it doesn't matter if it was really 8 because the next day, well, you're just trying to break that 10,000 steps. It doesn't matter if it's inaccurate. So that's the idea. Now, Sam says something great, that he likes stationary bike or even a regular bike. But what's great about biking? Well, you can burn thousands of calories in a much shorter amount of time. Same idea with running instead of walking. Walking, nice and easy. So if you're bodybuilding and you want cardio in your life at the same time, might be a good idea to walk, especially if you're training legs as well. You can't be running, losing your mind, burning out your legs, and then doing a bodybuilding session on your legs, right? Or you could, but it would be a very bad idea. What Sam says is he enjoys the recumbent bike. It's a stationary bike where he's chilling on it. He loves that he knows what the calories are, which is fantastic. Every day he has a baseline of calories that he's burned. Does not matter if it was accurate or not. You have a baseline, you go according to that baseline, okay? Now, a regular bike is fantastic too, but Sam very intelligently brings out the fact that you don't know how much you're actually exercising. Now, back when I lived in Brooklyn, I used to bike from Brooklyn to Manhattan, from Manhattan to Queens. I was all over the place on my bike. I miss my bike. I'd be out there for hours and hours and hours, and I used to book it. I don't even know how I'm alive, to be honest with you, because it's New York City. You know what I mean? Sure, they got bike lanes, but it's still dangerous as heck. But I'm here. but yes, he's right. while you may have some really amazing, engaging terrain, you get to look around, you still have stoplights, you still have people, you still have cars, all these things that are going to prevent you. You might have a super huge hill that you had to stop before, so you have no momentum and you got to walk it up the hill because you just can't pedal up there, things of that nature. So it's also the fact that it's much better for your schedule. If you have a recumbent bike at home, or any type of a bike, a training bike at home, I got a smart bike over here in the house. You can do what you need to do from home and get on with your day. Hop in the shower, train, hop in the shower, you're out the door. When you're on a bike, it's way different. You might go out to freaking 10 miles away, 20 miles away, have to bike all the way back, and then you have to start your time. You know what I mean? As far as getting ready. So it's just more conducive to an easy lifestyle in general. And it can be more entertaining. You can sit on your phone like Sam does, just watch a video. My bike is a smart bike. It's got a TV built into it, so I can watch television, watch my shows, watch a podcast while I'm on my bike. Really, really great stuff. So yeah, if you guys want cardio, I think the best thing you can have at home, especially if you're comparing like a treadmill to a bike, I would say it's totally a bike 100%. But if you like to work while you're walking, or walk, maybe a slow jog, if you like to work like I used to do on my treadmill, editing videos on my phone while I'm getting my cardio in, a treadmill's definitely, it's possible. It's possible to do. Can you do it on a bike? You can. You just got to make sure the bike you have is like what Sam has, a recumbent bike. So you're basically like kind of half laying down and just moving your legs. On a regular bike, it's way harder to be on a phone while you're sitting upright trying to edit or work or whatever the case is.
I get a lot of comments where it goes, well, why wouldn't you just walk outside? Why wouldn't you just ride a real bike? Go on a real bike ride. Why do you have to sit on a fake bike and pedal nowhere? And then also the logic is like, then you have to drive to the gym instead of something you could do right at home. And to that I say, well, good. Do that cardio that you like at home. The only reason that I'm going to probably prefer the seated bike over actually just kind of a free ride is the fact that I really know how many calories I burned in that period of time, and it's a very consistent aspect of my training. Because let's say if you're really riding a bike, let's say around your city or wherever, how much of that time is really pedaling, maybe going uphill, and then how much is just kind of coasting when you're going downhill or just riding your momentum, So the energy expenditure of a regular bike ride, I had a sneeze coming on.
He is not editing that video. It does not matter. He is not editing. Do you have any idea how much money this guy saves from not editing videos? I should really try it. I've been told so many times by you guys that I make extremely high quality videos as far as like the footage goes and the way the B-roll is and things of that nature. It takes 20 hours to edit a video that's 2 hours for me. I've actually got a little bit better, so maybe it's now down to like maybe 15 hours, something like that. But it's still a lot of time. And an editor is hundreds and hundreds of dollars per video. I'm actually trying a different system today in the editing in order to try to make it faster. I want to see how it goes. I'm excited. I really hope it goes well, because if so, I'll be able to get videos out faster for you guys. I'll be able to edit way less and be able to spend a lot less money as well on like an editor, let's say. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this guy, I give him props, man, because you know what? He started off like this and he's finishing like this. I don't think he's ever going to edit a video, or at least, substantially edit a video in his entire life.
Expenditure of a bike ride is like freaking all over the place. Sometimes you're really pedaling, maybe like, flat ground, uphill, okay, now you're burning a little more energy in that moment. Downhill, 0, you're just coasting. A dog starts chasing you, now you're at the max for a minute trying to get away from it. It's just this freaking huge wave. Whereas the seated bike, set the difficulty to 11, set it to 12, RPM. I've got the I've got the meter that says how many RPMs I'm actually doing, 80, 90, 100, whatever. I know it's very consistent. So instead of this jumble of energy, it's just a very consistent bar. And then that's really the description of low intensity steady state cardio, is you're just elevating your heart rate to a degree, not like a crazy, hyper exertion sprint degree, but above baseline enough that you're now burning more calories than you would just by sitting, because the point isn't even necessarily like, the fact that you're pedaling, it's there's definitely an angle where you're doing physical work, which is costing you energy. Bulking tips for a teenager, kind of similar to that first question, but for the most part, a gram per pound that you weigh, and then train like you're nuts. And the best part about that description is other things actually come into play, because if you only tell someone really bring it in your gym session and hit your protein goals, it's like, well, where's hydration? Where's sleep? Where's the rest of your calorie intake? It's all kind of going to stem from the training itself. If you have a really crazy hard workout, at least in that moment, you're going to be extra thirsty. And then now you've given your whole body this stress. It needs to eat more food to recover. So now you're going home and eating more food. And then, if I have a freaking wild-ass leg day, I've had days where I got a meal ready and I fell asleep before I could even eat it. I was so out of it. And as soon as I got comfortable, it was just like, out. So many of these things that we talk about in terms of recovery, they all just stem from an initial kind of stimulus from a wild ass workout, but if you're eating just whatever you can get your hands on, typically you're not going to eat enough protein. So that's why I say it's specifically like, make sure you get that gram per pound of body weight. But beyond that, don't freak.
Absolutely right. Recovery in general is so important. Sleep, hydration, I mentioned it earlier, but the protein, yes, what Sam is saying is right. Typically, people don't go out and just eat a ton of protein. It's something you have to actually remember to do. So that's an excellent point. Remember the protein, very, very important. And also get your sleep, get your hydration, and those other things kind of come, I remember when I was cutting down on my journey down to 145 pounds, automatically my sleep increased. I didn't do anything to facilitate this, but my sleep increased from like 8 hours a night to 10 or 11 hours a night. I was going to bed at like 9 p.m. But I knew it was because my body needed it. I was exhausted. Bodybuilding, tons of thousands upon thousands of steps, caloric deficit, all those things combined caused me to have to sleep more. So I just did it. I had to drink more. I just did it. The protein, however, that was important that I had to actually, because I could have just got a slice of pizza if it was easy. But no, I went out of my way. Maybe it was a protein shake. Maybe it was, whatever it was. So really great points from Sam. This is where the wisdom comes from just doing. And that counts for a lot.
Make sure you're getting a little bit stronger every so often. Right? Don't rip your pecs off doing a 1 rep max that you probably shouldn't do. But, I think we get the gist.
Another thing that I really liked that he said was make sure you're getting stronger every so often. Why? I was training somebody the other day, and they said, yeah, I've been trying to add a plate a week. And I said, really? Well, that's very good if you're doing it with proper form. Ended up finding out that she was not actually doing things with proper form. She was mandatorily adding a plate every week. Guys, there's been times in my life where I've gone 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month without raising the weight. Now, there's even been times where it was 3 months. But that was when I said, you know what? It's been 3 months. This is ridiculous. I should have changed things up long ago. Sometimes, and it all depends on the circumstance, sometimes that's where you need to reassess. That's where you need to maybe perhaps start doing a different movement. Perhaps you need to lower the weight if your form on that particular movement is not ideal. Because sometimes we forget and we just get so excited to see, hey, we're pushing more plates. You forget that, hey, that's not the point. That's not the point. Unless, of course, you're like in this for like strongman. You're strength training, essentially. But when you want to bodybuild, you want to make sure your reps and your form is good. Sometimes you forget. It happens to the best of us, right? We can't always remember what we need to do. We're imperfect species, and we have to try to be reminded of things like this. So that's why I'm mentioning it. So don't, like Sam said, make sure every so often you're raising the weight, especially if you're in a gym where the plates that you're using could be 5 or 10 pounds between plates on a machine or whatever the case is. If you have an electronic home gym like I do, you can increase by 1 pound increments. That is the most amazing thing. When you can increase by 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, that's incredible. You don't have to deal with that huge discrepancy in plates, so things get a lot easier. But in either case, you are not supposed to be progressing every time you go to the gym. You're going to have days where you're more tired, you can't push as much. You're going to have days where you're stressed, and so you're not going to be able to do what you used to be doing. Maybe you didn't sleep right. Maybe, whatever the case is, life gets in the way. You just go to the gym, you do the best you can. But to say that you should be adding plates every single time you go, absolutely not the case.
Nuts in a good way, like just hard. Hit your protein goals, and then most of everything else will begin to fall into place as you get into it. You don't have to do everything completely perfect right off the rip. And to think that you do is actually kind of a little bit of a weird mentality, which might throw people off from really even getting into it, because then it's like, that's not the point, right? The gist of it is like when you're not sure to jump and get into something, you just got to do it. You don't need to know everything about it. Start doing it, kind of learn as you go. But protein and wild training, those two in tandem, those two combined, will essentially always work in your favor. That I can guarantee. Something along those lines. Walter White, 9048. Thoughts on training sick? Should someone who's sick with the flu or a cold train light or not train at all? So you got two angles here. Because for one, if you're going to a public gym and you're sick, well, are you going to infect people around you? Are you really sneezing all over the place? I think just I don't know. I guess that's something to think about, right? How sick are you? But for me, at least, especially with the private gym now, if I'm sick, that's not a concern. I could just go there and not worry about it. And there's kind of two answers. There's the objective answer, and there's the subjective mentality answer.
So the question was, if you're sick, should you still train? Very nuanced and individualized. As Sam brought out, it depends on how sick you are. It also depends on, are you going to be training in a public place? Because guys, this is just my opinion. Don't put other people at risk of getting sick. I understand germs are everywhere. You're always taking a chance every time you leave the house. But as a common courtesy, as a decency kind of thing, don't just go to the gym knowing you're sick, or go to any function for that matter, knowing that you're sick, putting other people at more of a risk to get sick. Because people have lives, people have work, people have families, things of that nature. So if you could help avoid someone from getting sick, help them to avoid getting sick, stay at home and relax. But beyond that, if you have a gym at home, you can train at home. Like Sam has his own private gym, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But something that I want to mention is, and my ideas on this have, changed over time. Depends on your age as well. The younger you are, the more resilient you are. The older you are, the less likely that if you're sick, you're going to feel up to training. So if you don't mentally feel, because I'm the kind of guy who wants to train all the time, every single day, no matter what. I have to literally force myself not to train, even when I'm injured. It's a mental thing where you need to be no, you cannot do this. And I hate it. I feel miserable all day because of it. At the same time, it's necessary, right? A dog doesn't want to wear a cone around its neck after it gets a surgery, but if you take the cone off, it's going to start eating at the wound and destroy the surgery. So it's a necessary evil, right? When you're sick, whether you're young or older, right? Aside from what you want to do, training, especially if you're training more on the hard side actually lowers your immune system. Some of my best training sessions were followed up the very next day or the same afternoon with a cold. It coincided together, like a flu or a cold. Now, I might have got those flus or colds anyway, but the fact is that my immune system, because I broke my butt in the gym, was shot, tired, exhausted. I gave everything to the gym that day. And so your immune system goes down. You might think, oh, exercise brings your immune system up. No, it goes down, okay? And then later it comes back stronger in theory. But for a period of time, your immune system drops. And so that might be the time where it drops, where it's like, oh, now the actual symptoms of the cold, you might have been sick technically, but you didn't feel it. But now the symptoms of the cold come through because you broke your butt so much. Very feasible. So to train while sick is training while your immune system is already low. You will be making it lower if you train. Now, if you're doing some very light stuff, sure, if you just want to breathe a little heavier and you want to get some gunk out of your chest, sure, some light stuff, I don't really see an issue with that if you're not infecting other people. But really, assess the situation. Is it necessary? Because when you're sick, you're not eating enough protein anyway half the time. Who here who has the flu is actually hitting their 180 grams of protein? Who's doing it? Nobody. Tell me in the comments if you're doing that. I don't even take creatine when I'm sick. I just don't feel like moving sometimes depending on how sick I am. So excellent points brought out by Sam. You guys let me know what you guys do when you're sick. Do you still train? Do you still eat? What's the deal with your mentality about this?
But for me, if your immune system is compromised, you probably shouldn't work out. You probably shouldn't give yourself an extra stress. Relax, stay home, hydrate like crazy, gallons of water, whatever, steam bath, or whatever your home remedy is that works for you. Right, get after it. But if you're a nut, right? If you're crazy about working out, well then nothing's going to stop you, even a little bit of sickness. And then, who cares if you're sick? You're still going to go to the gym and bring it because nothing's going to stop you. And you're not going to let anything stop you, So even though, yes, objectively, rest days, not always going crazy heavy. There's objective points to training which you kind of need to learn. That's the more wisdom end of working out, right? Like knowing when to actually do less, right? It's like a hit without hitting kind of thing.
I really appreciate this with Sam. Now keep in mind, you guys know Sam is on performance enhancing drugs, but he's still telling you that it's a wisdom. It's something you need to learn on when to do less. And a lot of the time, it's just as simple as listening to your own body. Many times, not all the time, because, sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the body, what the body wants, what the mind wants. Everybody's connection and relationship with their body and their mind is a little different. But what he's saying is extremely important. Rest, very, very important. If you find yourself not interested in going to the gym where normally you love it, you might be overtraining a bit. Now, I'm not telling you that you're overtraining, because many people, honestly, they don't overtrain. They just think they do because they're lazy. They just don't know what work ethic is. For example, Julian Fitzgerald, we all know he thinks he's overtraining all the time when he's not. He has no clue what effort is, and he's learning. Gratefully, I see in the videos that he's learning over time. But many people, they don't know what effort is. And like one of my brothers, for example, he will lift a weight 3 times and be like, ugh, and sit down for like 45 minutes. He literally lifted it 3 times. He's sitting down for 45 minutes. So don't even go to the gym at that point. Don't even bother. Get your mind right. Get your body right. Don't even bother. You're taking up a machine at the gym for no reason. But rest days are very important. They're necessary. And sometimes after a good, solid rest, you can actually lift more. If you find that you've stagnated, you might want to have more carbs, right? Eat more carbs. Maybe you're on a cut, or maybe you're just not eating enough. Maybe you need a little extra energy. Have some more carbs. Hit the weights the next day. See how you do. Did you break the plateau? Or maybe you need a few days rest, a few days off completely. There's nothing wrong with that, because if you force yourself to train when your body's not ready, you're only breaking your body down. But the point of you going to the gym is to build it up. So try to determine, do you need a rest? Get to know your body a bit and try to determine what you need to do when. A rest could be what you need in order to break that plateau, and also to maintain your actual mental and physical health over a period of years, because bodybuilding, objectively, is a lifetime commitment. For the most part, most people, it's a lifetime thing.
But I think that's a good, area of thoughts to embrace, coming from starting off as a hard-headed, completely 100% determined, immovable object. I'm going to go after this thing no matter what. And then kind of learning the ways after that, right? It's like I want the ability mentally to work out every day, nonstop. Nothing will change that. It's simply a fact of life. Like the sun is going to rise. But I know objectively, sometimes not doing that is actually the answer, But if you skip this part, if you skip that hardcore mentality part, then are you taking a rest day because you really know it's necessary? Or are you taking it because you're lazy and you want to skip?
I love this guy, man. I love it. He is giving you both sides of the coin. Same thing I try to do with my videos. He's giving you both sides. Do you really need a rest, or are you just trying to skip? I just got through saying that that's what many people do. So it's a fact. Your body might need rest, but it's also a fact that people will take advantage and talk themselves into thinking they need a rest. So I don't need to expand on it. He put it perfectly. That's the wisdom right there that comes along with that training. I mean, you're bound to learn. When you do something long enough, this guy pushes himself in the gym. These are words of wisdom right here.
People who aren't willing to do all this, I think their motivation to back off in their training sometimes doesn't come from a genuine point of progress, but potentially from a point of, I don't want to do it. I'll take a rest day. Right? You can take a rest day because you need it, or you can take a rest day because you want it. Average Potion 420 asks, are you into stoicism? Not into it like it's my main thing ever, but it's kind of a good, there's good tips from every sort of, kind of philosophy there is. Like what are you supposed to do? What's the best move if you drive to the gym Friday night? You got chest, it's the only gym in your town. What's the best move to show up and then the gym is closed? Is it to get pissed and say, why the fuck? Or is it to say, shit, well, okay, let's do something else. Or let's do a bodyweight workout or whatever, right? You save yourself the hugabaloo and just move straight to action.
I love this guy, man. He's so chill. And I could see why someone would ask if he practices stoicism, because it's more of like a, mild kind of reaction to things. You try to control, essentially, what you can control and just do the best you can and not lose your mind over stuff. So Sam, many times, exactly what you see him say there, he's just like, shit.
Shit.
I love seeing it. And, you got this guy over here using words like hugabaloo. Oh my God. He's such a character, and he's not trying to be. I love the way this guy seems to have been raised, honestly. Like, he's so normal. It's like he's more normal than what normal is. He's on another level. Does anybody know where he grew up? Does anybody know what state he grew up in? what area he grew up in. Let me know if you guys know. I have no idea.
You know, if I show up to a gym to hit arms and I'm hyped about it and then the gym's closed and I've got no option, that's probably going to suck for me, you know, but I don't want to make a fuss, if you kind of catch what I'm saying.
It's funny because, like, you know, he'll drop an F-bomb once in a while, but then he says something like, you know, because I don't want to make a fuss. It's kind of like he was raised by his grandmother, but his grandmother was like in a biker gang or something.
What is your motivation to keep on grinding every day? What keeps you going? Asks Cryptic KXO. I was thinking about this a little while ago, and I think it felt cool for me to think to myself, because why does anyone work out at all? Typically, the goal is I want to get this big. Right in the beginning, I'm looking at someone who is big and saying I want to be like that. So that is a very direct. Let's say that's a grade 1 goal. You want to reach a point in progress at a certain amount of time. But I think with working out and with really any endeavor, sometimes you can level that goal up to grade 2. And you could probably describe it in like 5 grades of goals or whatever. But how I look at it is not necessarily reaching any particular position in working out because I like it. Like apart from what I'm saying right here, I just like to do it. So it's fun for me. So of course you're going to do it. That's like asking a kid why he's swinging on the swing. He's like, dude, this is fun. Why wouldn't I want to do this? But in terms of actual goals where it's like, okay, you know, am I driven to reach a certain version of myself? Like, do I have a picture of someone where it's like nailed up on the wall and I'm like, I gotta look like this?
I think what Sam is saying is totally valid. I mean, in the beginning, he might have had a goal, like, I want to look like this guy, or I just want to get big. But now he just wants to keep going because now he is big already, you know. He's got his IFBB Pro card. The guy should literally just start making audio books because people love to listen to him so much. He would never have to do anything again. You know, of course, he loves doing it. So, you know, for now, he loves doing it. So, you know, it's fine. He can do it. But the reason I started training in the first place was I was probably about 8 years old, and I used to get bullied all the time because I was an overweight, like 200 pounds, 100 maybe at 8 years old. I was maybe like probably 150 pounds or something like that. Can't be positive, but I was very much overweight, and I used to get bullied all the time. And so I knew I needed to get big. I saw a bodybuilding cover with Arnold on it, and I was like, Dad, I want weights. I was 8 years old. Got my first set of weights. So, you know, I continued to train because I felt like I had to, because I was bullied, but I also fell in love with it like Sam did. You know, it was a place to release stress. You saw the progress. You saw your body changing. You saw physical results, like, you know, results every few days. And so it gave you a goal, something to focus on, something to do. And even though I wasn't doing it right, it was still enough to keep me going for many years. But I do, however, want to give you a caveat. While you might start off, it's kind of like a YouTube channel. When most people start off with YouTube, they waste about a year of their life just finding their niche. If you look at the beginning of my videos, you'll see way back when I'm putting up videos about, like, you know, pocket knives, hot tubs. I don't even remember what's on there. I probably wasted about a good 6 months of my life. But typically for people, it's about a year, right? With YouTube, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is to have a goal in advance. And while your goal might change, sure, have a goal. Why? It gives you a reason that you're doing what you're doing. And so you're not throwing punches at the air and seeing like what sticks. You know what I mean? You see the target and you're hitting the target. Same thing with bodybuilding. Even if you don't have a goal immediately, try to get one because you'll save time. You'll save energy and effort, okay? Rather than cutting because you think you want to be ripped all the time, maybe you realize, wait a minute, I do actually want to grow, and I can't be ripped all the time and grow. So I need to find a balance. I want to bodybuild, you know what I mean, professionally. So you go into it with that route, but then you find out, you know what? I actually like the way I look, more lean. Maybe I want to be a model. So sure, your goals might change, but have a goal and try to execute the steps necessary in order to achieve that goal to try to get you on a certain track. Or else I feel like you're kind of going into a YouTube channel with no idea and you're making all these videos for nothing. Or you're walking into the gym that day, but you don't track what weights you use. So you walk in there on Monday, you use 40s. You walk in there on Thursday and you're using 35s, 20s, 60s. You have no clue what you're doing. There's no rep ranges. There's no nothing. You're not tracking your weights. You're not tracking your sets. You don't know if you're improving or not improving. So there's no goal. There's no clear goal. So there's no clear path to follow. And you're not going to be successful. I mean, maybe you will be, but it's less likely. So that's my recommendation.
Bigger, keep getting leaner, keep getting stronger. The stronger part's not super important to me. It's cool, but I don't need to be stronger. I want to be, bigger, more muscular, defined, stuff like that. And really just keep going. My goal isn't arriving. I feel like my goals are becoming. So it's not reaching a single point. It's just continually heading in this upward direction and seeing what happens. So that's how I feel about it. And with a mentality like that, I've never really felt kind of any sort of anxiousness about how long it was going to take, because the journey is supposed to be the fun part. I know that's so cliche to say, but it really is. I'm not looking at it as though in 3 years I'll finally have reached my goal and I can be done with working out. That's not the point. I'm going to keep doing it because I like it the whole time. So it's it's more like I'm just on this journey with the working out, and I'll just see what happens.
I appreciate that Sam brought up that kind of cliche, as he mentioned, about how he's just enjoying the journey. Now, the interesting thing about that is you might look at Sam and think, well, he didn't give himself a chance to really enjoy the journey because he hopped on PEDs at such a young age. He might not have given his body the time it needed to grow naturally, enjoy that journey, right, in a sense, and then hop on PEDs to continue enjoying the journey. Once 10 years, 12 years elapse, 15 years of training, then he starts the new segment of his training of enjoying that part of the journey and continuing and making progress and things of that nature. But of course, I think Sam's mentality, as he mentioned, probably changed over time. Initially, he probably thought, hey, I do want to get as big as possible, as fast as possible, and I want to get to the end of the journey. Maybe his because he's reached that goal, his mindset's changed a bit. So just a little bit of nuance, things that you probably don't think about, that I just wanted to bring up. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I think this is a very interesting subject. I think this guy's a very interesting guy. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about what he said about the journey, the PEDs, and things of that nature.
It's as though I've got a story unfolding in front of me, and I want to see what happens next. That's kind of how I think about it. And it's like if you're reading a book and you love the story, you're going to keep turning the page, and you're going to keep watching, and you're just going to keep seeing what the hell goes on next. Let's find one more here. Distan 66. I struggle to know how many sets I should do in a workout and in what order I should do certain movements. For example, on a classic arm day, it makes me overthink my workouts. How do I simplify my time in the gym so I enjoy it more?
I'm just going to interject. I don't know what Sam's going to say, but I'd love to say what I want to say and then listen to what Sam has to say. This gentleman wants to know how to simplify his time in the gym. He struggles to know how many sets, how many reps, and things of that nature. You'd be surprised. There's a lot of people who go to the gym and they look the same over a period of years. Maybe that's their goal. Maybe they just want to maintain or whatever. But some people, they're genuinely trying to build and change, but they don't see it happening. A lot of that will come down to the sets, the reps, the intensity, and things of that nature. Now, this is a very nuanced subject. I think we probably got about another 20 minutes left to the video. In theory, answering this question could last that 20 minutes. So I'm going to just give you a short bit about what I think about it, and then we'll see how long Sam gets into that, because it's a very nuanced question. It's not something you can really answer in just one conversation. But how many sets, how many reps, how to simplify so that you can enjoy your time in the gym more. First of all, I would say, as far as sets and reps, where do you hold bodybuilding as a placeholder in your life? Do you hold it here, and then you hold family here, and then you hold work down here? Or do you hold work up here, bodybuilding here, family here, work here, family here, bodybuilding down here? And why am I asking you where you hold your training? I want to know how much time you can safely and comfortably dedicate to your training in order to be able to function properly in the rest of your life, okay? Not many people, training is number one. For these guys, training is number one. But for normal people like you and I, training is not typically number one. Now, how much time can you dedicate in the gym? Okay, I'll talk about myself. I used to do 10 sets per exercise that I did. Now, granted, I didn't do a ton of exercise, tons of different movements in a day. If I went in there and I did chest and back, I would do 10 sets per, and I would take it to failure every single set, okay? And I would do, let's say, 15 reps per set, all right, to failure. Now, at a certain point in time, I realized, you know what, this is just way too much friggin' time. And now my circumstances have changed. My wife wanted to spend more time with me. I had to start a different job. So what did I do? I raised the weight, got down to a 12 rep range, and I started doing six sets per exercise. Now, if by the time I got done with my 6th set and I still had gas in me, I would do another extra set. And usually by that time, by that 7th set or maybe 8th set, I would be done. But it all comes down to your goals and your time that you have to dedicate. See, you don't have to spend all day in the gym to make progress. You don't. So if you go in there and do 6 sets, which I love 6 sets, and keep in mind, I'm taking my sets to absolute failure. Absolute failure. When I get to my 12th rep or whatever it is within that set, I cannot do any more. And by the time I reach the threshold that I give myself the threshold of 12 to 15 reps. Once I hit 16 and my form is good, like I'm doing good, solid form, if I hit on good form past the rep range that I allow myself, I up the weight. Because now I know I'm going to be spending more time. I'm just going to, eventually keep accruing reps. And I need to progressive overload. So even though while you can progressive overload on reps and sets, I would like to also progressive overload on weight. And since I use 1 pound increments, I can progressive overload all day. So it's amazing, absolutely phenomenal. So for me, that works. But I am currently doing 6 sets per muscle group, minimum twice a week. That's what I do. Sometimes 3 times a week, depending on how things work out. So it comes down, I would say, to answer your question, how to make it easier and more enjoyable, don't put so much pressure on yourself. I have to be in the gym. I have to do this many. What's your schedule like? How much are you willing to dedicate? And then find a reasonable range within that, okay? You don't have to be in the gym all day. Unless you love it, unless you want to be. But even then, you really don't, because at that point, you're probably doing junk volume and you're wasting your time. So now let's take a look see what Sam says.
This is a classic example, this stand, where the abundance of choices will actually lead to indecision. Because you could do a million different pushdowns or overhead extensions or curls or and then beyond exercise selection, which you can do a million different workouts just from picking different movements, you can also, each of those movements, you can do a heavy set, you can do a light squeezing set, you can do a maybe you could do a drop set, you could do a pre-exhaust set where you do like lightweight first and then heavyweight. That's an awesome thing to bring up because there's so many crazy ass ways to do it, and then everybody says their way is the best. How I look at it is I think you'd probably want to give yourself some constraints.
Sam just brought out some great points. There's a million different ways to do your training, and a lot of people you ask will tell you, yeah, this is how I do it, and I think it's the best. Well, of course, you think it's the best. That's why you're doing it that way. Nothing wrong with that. But, yeah, you guys don't need that many different types of exercises. You don't. I had a guy that I was training who was doing like 3 types of chest in one day. You're doing incline bench, decline bench, flat bench, then incline fly, decline fly, flat fly. You don't even have enough time with one movement in order to have progress. You need one movement, guys. Maybe 2. Maybe 2. At least 1 or 2 per session. You can switch it up the next time you go to the gym. Do something a little different if you want. Flat bench Monday. Wednesday, you're doing incline bench. Whatever. Or you could spend some months with a certain movement, get strong on it, and then switch to another one. There's nothing wrong with either of those things. Whatever you find to be interesting. If you're getting a little bored and you need to switch it up, by all means, switch it up. But on the same day, do you have to do a million different movements? Absolutely not. You're not giving your body enough time to get good at the one movement. And therefore, progress is very likely not to happen anytime soon. You're basically stalling yourself for a large majority of the people. You're stalling your progress because your motor units, your body wants to get good at one thing. It wants that. So let it get good at that thing, progress a bit in weight over time, in form, progress, do better and better and better with the one movement. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying do one movement a day. I'm saying per body part. And again, this is just my opinion. You can do it any which way you like. But these are my thoughts on what Sam just brought out. And all these choices could make somebody paralyzed. Guys, keep it simple. Warm up on the same movement, my opinion, on the same movement that you're going to be doing for your working sets. Warm up with lighter weight, build up to your working set, bang out your working sets, do some like superset, circuit training type of stuff. So you're not wasting any time in the gym. You take your rest, bang out the next set, get in and get out.
So by constraints, I don't mean like you're not allowed to do this, or this. How I have done it so far is typically I look at a workout as, okay, this is going to have this many sets. Now I feel like I lift until I reach a certain like feeling of whatever muscle I'm hitting. So if I do 7 sets or 9 sets or 6 sets, as long as the workout is over at that set number, well then I know I did enough. That was good for that day. But for the most part, I really like the idea of making it so your workout is basically consistent, and then you can give yourself choices on the day. So let's say you're doing arms. I don't know how many sets you're doing for arm day. I would probably recommend an 8 sets of biceps, 8 sets of pushdowns, or really 8 sets of a muscle group twice a week. Hard to go wrong. If you did 7, things probably wouldn't change that much. If you did 9, it might not change that much. Around that, honestly, around that 6 to 12 mark, if you're working that hard, you're probably going to get substantial results.
Like Sam just said, from like that 6 to 12 mark, you're going to get substantial results in regards to sets. Now, remember, time, right? Time is a big deal. And another thing to consider is how much do you have left? See, I came to a point where I was able to dial in my weights to sets and reps ratio, where by the time I got done with 6 sets, I could not do any more. I was finished. Started off with 12 reps, and by the 6th set, I'm on like 4 reps because I can't do any more than that. At that point, you're wasting your time. Call it a day. You know what I'm saying? So So many different methods out there, so many different thoughts, but time is a factor. How hard are you pushing yourself? If you're not really pushing yourself that hard and you're going through a training session and you're like, I'm at my 6th set, but I feel like I could do another one, and then you do another one, and then you get all the way up to 10. Well, by the time you get to your 10th, maybe you're exhausted and you're like, okay, 10 is good for me. That's great. But let's say doing 10 sets is too long for you. Try to increase that weight. Put more effort into each set so that you can spend less time. But if you can't increase the weight, well, volume is good. You can exert yourself. If you can't increase the weight, do the volume if you have the time. But there's different ways to manipulate things, you see? Different methods such as rest pause to get extra out of that set. Maybe perhaps squeeze extra hard and let the eccentrics down extra slow. Things to wipe you out sooner if you're trying to get more effort packed into a shorter time. Tons of different things you could do out there. And again, we could talk about this for like another 30 minutes. That's how in-depth these things go.
So I'm not super picky with what number it actually ends up being, as long as the sets I do are really nuts. Usually, I'd say it's a good idea to do 3 different movements. So maybe 3 sets, 2 sets. But really, it's like give yourself a number of sets. Let's say 8. Give yourself a number of movements. Let's say 3. So let's say you're doing 3 sets of this, 3 sets of this, and then 2 sets of this to finish. And then just make sure those sets are all different. So if I'm doing chest, I might do 3 sets of the Arsenal chest press, and then I might do 3 sets of pec deck, and then I might do 3 sets of, converging cable press to finish.
So notice one of Sam's recommendations here, an example of what he might do, and what something similar to what we've seen him do is perhaps chest press, then chest fly, and then what he called converging cable press. All that for chest, okay? He mentioned 8 sets. Totally cool. What I recommend, as I mentioned before, personally, would be on your chest day, choose one of those and do 8 sets of the same movement. And you might be thinking, why? Well, first of all, you're working chest the entire time. When you train chest, your entire chest gets trained, whether it's flat bench, incline bench, decline bench, your whole chest is technically getting trained. So if that's the case, why not put all your efforts and energy into training really good one movement? You're still exhausting your entire chest. And then the next time you come back to do chest, if you like, switch it up. Now do 8 sets of the fly machine. Things of that nature. I'm just throwing thoughts out there because to me, it makes sense to do more quality versus quantity. It's literally that principle. Quality over quantity. Sure, you can do 3 sets of something. But honestly, by the time I'm into my 3 sets, that's like my peak. Am I going to stop at my peak? Probably not, but that's just for me. You guys let me know what you think in the comments.
So from that logic, I'm doing 3 movements, as long as they're all different. Maybe an upward thing, a flat thing, more of a stretch-based movement. 3 sets, 2 sets, or 2 sets, 3 sets, any kind of combination of those. And then just make sure on whatever set I pick, I really bring it. Because if I wanted to do a workout with pec deck, dumbbell bench, and cable press, honestly, if I said I wanted to do dumbbell first and then someone told me, Sam, I'm on the dumbbells, I'm on these, you really can't use them, can you start with pec deck? That would be fine too. It really wouldn't eat at me because it would change the workout, but as long as I still bring it every set, then it doesn't exactly matter what the workout is.
So Sam just mentioned something that I wanted to clarify that he might agree with or might not. I don't know. But he said, well, it doesn't really matter to me if I go in there and I want to do dumbbells first. But then somebody says, I'm using the dumbbells, and then Sam says, okay, well, instead I'll go do the pec deck. Well, just keep in mind that he's not really giving you the reasons why he would need the dumbbells, right? So for example, you would not want to do a movement first that's going to burn out the muscle you need in order to what I'm trying to say is, for example, we've seen in the past Julian training triceps and delts in advance of doing a heavy bench press. We saw that he failed on that bench press. Why did he fail? First of all, he was ego lifting, but besides the ego lifting, he trained his triceps and his delts in advance of the bench press. That's stupid. So if you wanted to go into the gym, let's say you want to do chest, you want to do tris, and you want to do your delts. Let's say you walk over to that bench and somebody says, hey, dude, I'm on here. Are you going to switch up your exercise to the point where now you go train triceps first? You shouldn't. Just find a machine that will mimic the original machine that you wanted to use. You see what I'm saying? So maybe instead of doing the bench press, you go ahead and do a fly instead that day, right? Call it a day. Or wait for the guy to finish, or ask if you can work in with him. But don't do the auxiliary muscle, the secondary muscle. Don't work the secondary muscle that you're going to need on another one of your lifts in advance of doing those lifts. So let's say, for example, you wanted to do bench press. You can do bench press. Then you decide you want to do rear delt and maybe middle delt, because bench press doesn't train middle and rear delt as much. Then you can go ahead and do that, and then you can go ahead and do your triceps. This is just an example. And of course, again, you can do whatever you want or feel like you need to do. Everybody is different. But in general, this is what I would recommend to a majority of the people.
It's not necessarily what exactly you're doing. I think it's more so how you're doing it. You know, so don't put this pressure on yourself where it's like you have to do the perfect set and you have to pick the perfect movement. You pick any movement and you make it perfect by really bringing it. Like if I had to do if I had to do a bicep workout right now, and all I had in here was one 40-pound dumbbell, I could do it. And honestly, I wouldn't even complain that much, because I could do some standing curls, I could do some bent over, preacher curls. I could maybe lean over the chair and do like, these would be preachers. These would be concentration curls. It's the really tricky part isn't necessarily picking the perfect movement. It's trying to be the perfect guy where you can make anything work. So I know that that's kind of a jumble of ideas, but it's more so it doesn't matter exactly which movement you do as much as it does, having a good varied workout, but making all of your sets really good and valuable by bringing it.
Sam mentioned that the most important thing is to make your workout good by bringing it. So basically, focus on intensity. And I do agree with that, but I must again say, you're not going to get the best results if you are bringing your hardest, doing your hardest, but at the same time doing things out of order. So I don't think Sam means to do things out of order. I could be wrong, because we have seen him do some things in theory that were out of order in the past. But sure, yes, bring it. Do everything you can to make it good, but do things intelligently. You're not going to give everything you can to your triceps and then go do bench press. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to be able to push. So you see what I'm saying?
Let's see. Kyle191, what have you been watching lately? Not a ton. I don't really have a show right now. I don't want to sit on my phone and just scroll. Like, if I'm going to watch something, I want it to be a cool show or something.
I really appreciate what Sam's mentioning here about what he decides to watch. We had somebody say, what are you watching right now? He said, well, not too much. He wants to watch things with intention. He just doesn't want to doom scroll all day. Something I wanted to bring up to you guys is when you have a goal, I recommend watching videos, making a playlist like I had when I was doing my cut to get from 300 down to 145. I would make a playlist, and that playlist would be a cut playlist. I'm listening to all these YouTubers, Coach Greg, Marco, I don't remember his last name, but one of you guys will know. Marco something. And the guy's amazing. The guy is amazing when it comes to cutting. So I would listen to all these people. Motivation, while I'm walking, getting my steps in. While I'm cooking, I'm watching it. It's motivation. Use it as motivation. Sam doesn't necessarily need the motivation right now or whatever the case is. He's in a certain point in his life. He's not prepping for anything, so he doesn't need that. But when you guys have a goal, listen in the background to what you want and allow your life to be consumed by it to a degree to keep you on track. It is very motivational. It is very helpful.
Are you going to the Olympia next year? Well, yeah, I'm probably going. I mean, without exaggeration, there are levels to this shit. That's for sure. So, I get to go to the Arnold. I get to go to the Arnold Professional. These guys are legit. These are Mike Sommerfeld. These are Logan Franklin. These guys they have been around and they have used their time wisely in terms of their development. So my primary goal with that competition anyway is I want to come in absolutely peeled as I can get. Because, 23-year-old Sam doesn't have the muscle maturity as a 30-year-old so-and-so who's been doing this thing this whole time and is a bit bigger, fuller, everything.
How old is Sam Sulic?
Sam Sulic was born on February 7th, 2002. As of today, September 23rd, 2025, he is 23 years old.
Oh my gosh. I did not realize that Sam was 23. I don't know. Oh my God, I completely forgot. Oh my God, guys, I thought maybe he was like in his 30s at this point. His face has aged so much. It just didn't occur to me, like, when did he come on the scene? Like 19 or something like that? Maybe 20? No. Yeah, maybe like 8. I don't know. 19 years old? Oh my gosh, man. Oh, that is wild. Anyway, what he said about the muscle maturity, he's 23 years old. He's got to compete next to guys in their 30s who have more muscle maturity, and he wants to come in as peeled as possible. He's going to really shine there because we saw at his first IFBB Pro, this guy came in so freaking peeled, shredded. At one point, I do believe he spilled over a little bit, but obviously it didn't impact him. The guy did great. But you saw through him. You saw through him for the first time ever. And it was just remarkable what he was able to accomplish. And without a coach. Man, I can't wait to see him do his thing at the next Olympia. But, bro, I did not even realize this dude was 23. I thought I'm over here talking like a 30-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow.
This is a good one. And I just came up with a good answer. Arwo asks, what's one question you've always wanted to be asked? Yeah, one question I want to be asked is, do you remember this? And it's a picture of me with somebody. And then right now, looking at him, the guy is like a total beast. Where, it's something where, like, let's say I met this dude at the Arnold. We got a picture. He's just started working out. His motivation's through the roof right in the beginning. And then, the guy says, hey, I'm going to show you. I'm going to come back and get a picture with you sometime. You're not going to recognize me. Yeah, for me to see something like that with, like, I'm talking an insanely drastic change, that's a question I really want to be asked. Because that would just be, when shit comes full circle like that, it's just freaking nuts.
I love how Sam says that the question that he would want to be asked is, do you remember this? And he brought it full circle to his fans. He's talking about when he takes a photo with a fan, that fan coming back and being like, look, this is me now. I think that is so freaking cool that he cares that much about his fans. Amazing. I love it. That was the coolest answer I think anybody could have ever gave.
And I've been on my own side of it. I never had a moment like that. But my version of that situation is at the Arnold in 2023. We all went, we're checking everything out. Jay Cutler was there. There's a big ass line. So we're like, shit, there's a line here. But then one of my buddies goes up to a security guard, and I didn't do it, but I guess I kind of took part. But he gave the guy a 20, and he let us slip through the line. So we got to actually go up and see Jay. We're talking, and it's like nothing wild, and my buddy asked him, he's like, this guy's he's getting into classic physique, what do you think, any tips for him? Like, I didn't ask. I was like, not too nervous to ask, but I just didn't even want to ask. Like, I'm like, this is just crazy. I've seen Jay Cutler. And then, he's like, no, but so he told me, this is before anybody knew who Sam was. He's like, it's not all about the size, you really want to just, get that conditioning, especially in classic. So, it's like, as big as you're getting, just make sure you peel down. Like that was the gist of it. And then just a short 2 years later, now getting to go work out with him, see his gym, do his podcast, everything, like, be able to, like, it's just freaking wild, So when shit comes full circle like that, and somebody actually really made some shit happen, for me the idea that I could hear that I was part of a catalyst of that, grind to actually be done, and like that was a motivation, like that gets me freaking amped. Like if I'm in the gym and somebody shows me someone shows me a wild transformation picture or video or anything, and it's like, dude, holy shit, like that is not nothing. I can't overstate the fact that for someone to lose X pounds of body fat, it's about 10 times, I'd say it's at least 5 times more difficult than just gaining a few pounds of muscle.
To hear that story about how Sam met Jay Cutler before Sam was Sam, and then only 2 years later he's over there training with Jay Cutler, and how Jay Cutler had given him advice that helped him get to where he got, and all this stuff. That is just such a cool story. I loved hearing it. And I love what Sam's bringing up here about how losing weight is actually much harder, maybe not physically, but much harder overall than gaining a couple of pounds of muscle. That's the truth, man. That's the truth. It's the diet that's hard. The training is relatively easy, but it's like the bodybuilding part. But it's the diet that's hard. The self-control, the starving yourself. That's the really, really hard part. The eating and picking up weight. The hardest part about that is just showing up and doing your best. The diet, that's mental, emotional, and physical torture.
To lose 100 pounds of body fat versus to gain 10 pounds of muscle for the untrained individual, yeah, it's probably 10 times harder. It may not physically workload harder, but just the time, like the mentality, the everything, yeah, you're going to have a much harder time doing that. And you should be rewarded accordingly, at least with the fact that you did it. So do not take that lightly, right? If I see somebody who gained 10 pounds of muscle and someone who lost 100 pounds of body fat, obviously, you can't judge people on a scale or anything, but I know this guy knows what it's like, and he knows what it's like. So we get our own little wavelength there, and that's where I've got a little extra respect for the cardio and macro tracking guys out there in the world, right? Even though it's an unseen battle, the victory, I don't have to tell you. If you're already tracking and doing your cardio, you know what you're talking about. But no, so that's all for me for today. Let's go. I'm actually going to be a little bit late. We got prejudging in just like in an hour, so let's go check it out. So if you're around Poughkeepsie, New York, today, we're down there. So come check it out, the Grand Prix. But I'll see you tomorrow.
I love that Sam can just put a video out a day. He doesn't edit. I love that. You guys let me know what you think. I would not mind putting out a video that's not edited, similar to what Sam's doing, right? But just like this, and responding to other videos, right? I wouldn't mind it. Now, I don't know how much you guys watch my B-roll with, the clips that are on the screen. I don't know how much you guys watch that stuff, or if you guys would just want to hear me speak to you. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about that. I'd be very curious to know, because a lot of you guys tell me that you typically watch me in the background. So that means you're not necessarily watching the phone. So let me know in a comment, you guys like hearing me talk and you just want to hear me talk? Do you guys like the way I'm doing it with the B-roll and the clips? You guys let me know. It was fantastic to hang out today with Sam. Fantastic to hang out today with you guys. This was amazing. I hope the video ends up coming out about 2 hours or an hour and a half for you guys. I have no clue at this point how much time we've been recording. But I really hope it comes out well. I'm so grateful for all the support on this channel. Thank you guys for being here. I'll catch you all at the next video.